Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
So if you read my speech, and many people have done it, it's been analyzed, and people thought that what I said was totally appropriate. And if you look at what other people have said, politicians at a high level, about the riots during the summer, the horrible riots in Portland and Seattle and various other places, that was a real problem, what they said. But they've analyzed my speech and my words and my final paragraph, my final sentence, and everybody to the T thought it was totally appropriate.
The speech that day, was it the worst? No. Not about the speech that day. The people before you, I think, were worse, Mr. President. The people before you. Trial by combat, Rudy Giuliani. The subsequent, let's say 60-ish days from election time up until then, is when the fire was lit continuously. That's what culminated in bringing everything together. And there you have it. Absolutely crap. You know it and I know it. Will not take responsibility whatsoever. Oddly enough, when he's alone or with somebody, he'll take some bit of responsibility. It was with Kevin McCarthy, who essentially did something that, months ago would be unthinkable, which is basically tell the president, you're a liar. It's over. You lost. None of that's true. It was Antifa. No, it wasn't. It was not. It was not Antifa. It was not stolen from you. You lost. Period. It's over. But because of what took place a week ago, we now face part deux when it comes to impeachment.
The president's actions demonstrate his absolute inability to discharge the most basic and fundamental powers and duties of his office. Therefore, the president must be removed from office immediately. Who knows what he might do next?
Well, I don't think he'll do anything. I think he's got nowhere to go. Joint Chiefs have already come out and said that they're behind Biden, which means military is essentially behind Biden. The thought process of people, stop sending me, by the way, that he's going to declare martial law. I've gotten that every day from like 50 people. It's not happening. They wouldn't even listen to him now. They wouldn't even listen to him now. It's over. Now the question is, with impeachment, part deux, where do we go? Because you're seeing the Republicans, they're freer to speak now. People are going, well, why didn't you speak sooner? Let me tell you, let me give you an insight into politics and the people that usually move into politics, especially the higher ups in politics. It's about power. They love their power. They love their fiefdom. They love their world. And if they play it right, rarely do they get challenged in any real serious way because of the gerrymandering and all of the stuff and the way that all these things are laid out inside of their home states. They can hold on to power for a very long time, and they love it. They do. Trump came along, upset the apple cart, put him in horrible positions. Absolutely horrible positions. When it came to drama, in many cases, he governed pretty conservatively and went against the Republicans at times. But it was never about how that took place. It was always about the other stuff. None of them liked Trump. Mitch McConnell. People around him say he hates Trump. I've known that for years. Just think about this for a second. All of these guys and gals in Congress and the Senate, all of them had other players in the game that they wanted to see get through until Trump came along. But they couldn't ignore it. And then Trump built up his cult, along with energizing the base. And then the fear came in. It's easier to speak up now because he's got nowhere to go off on people. It's easier to say something now because essentially him sicking his attack dogs on other people, senators, congressional people, and anyone else, that's gone now. Much easier to talk. They see the finish line. They're falling away fast. The rats are abandoning the ship, and it's going to happen faster and faster. It is. So the question remains, where do we go? Okay, impeachment part 2. First president ever to be impeached twice. Now what? Well, you couldn't force Pence into the 25th Amendment. It really wasn't written for that. It wasn't written for this particular thing. So the next thing is impeachment part 2. So here we go. And the Democrats have to play this right, as do the Republicans. You've got to be smart about it. And there's several ways they can go about it. The first way is, and Mitch McConnell said he's open to it, and he's happy about it, hopes they continue to go through with it. Partially, and everybody's like, oh, see, he hates Trump. Well, there's two things to this. First of all, Mitch got everything out of Trump he needed. He got 3 Supreme Court justices, as well as reshaping the entire courts. He got tax breaks. He got to smash down on regulations in a lot of ways. They spend money like they're going out of style. Now, granted, a lot of that stuff, when they were talking about running up the debt and all this stuff, was COVID related. Let's not pretend that wasn't. But he got a lot of stuff out of him. He used him for everything he could. And now the cows run dry, and it's time to get him out of here because he's more pain of an ass. So away he goes. But Mitch looks at it and sees 2 things. One, we killed 2 birds with 1 stone. First, we impeach him. It's great. Make sure that he never runs for office again, which may make him not the kingmaker he thought he was going to be, which I think a lot of that stuff has already sailed. 2, it's great theater. It's great theater. And it'll also put the Democrats in a certain position where it may make them look like they're somewhat vindictive, which can only strengthen us. I've always said this. The president rents senators and congresspeople. You go look at how long they've been there. They are buyers. They are buyers, meaning they're there for a while. That's their home. Trump pissed a lot of people off. And instead of replacing the swamp with better things, in many cases, he got rid of the alligators and brought in crocodiles. So as we move forward here in impeachment part 2, we're going to break down today how and what could possibly happen in real ways. I don't care about the minutia of the day-to-day of it. It's where do they go and what's the best way forward for the country. And Biden has some things to seriously consider. Biden doesn't want to spend the next year reliving these things over and over again and having to fight battles over and over again about Trump. Some of that is going to, every president has to go through that. But this one more so than anything else. You know, when Obama took over, we had the housing crisis and a depressed economy. Right? So, and by then they'd already started moving forward with the quantitative easing, throwing money into the marketplace, trying to do certain things and the bailouts and stuff. But that was there. It's looming. Right? It was right there. But Bush wasn't hanging over him. Bush wasn't. Bush was done. He was gone. Boom. This is what Biden has to deal with, potentially. Not just what took place last week, the division in the country, COVID, but also the fact that that guy may be gone physically, but we're still fighting battles about him, which isn't going to move us forward and unite us. I'm going to tell you guys what I think Biden should do, which I think would be a smart thing for him and for the country. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Hope you were doing well on this amazing day. I was telling my son last night, it's history, man. You know, it's history. You watch these things, and we go over some of it. We don't get deep into the details because, again, he's 10, and but this is history. You're living through history. You live through history when it comes to not only what took place last week, but all that's happening right now, but also what's going on with the pandemic. And you'll look back at it, and your kids look back on it and go, oh, did you know your great-great-great-great-granddad, he lived through those? That's history. And that's what we're going through. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, Instagram, check it out there. All right, kids, Raycon, best earbuds around. I love my Raycon. I think I'm going to hit some golf balls in between all the work and stuff I do today. What do I take with me? My Raycons. Why? Because I like to listen to my audiobooks. I love my audiobooks. So I'll go, I'll hit, and you know what's great? Don't have to worry about how long it's going to last, because I know I've charged mine the other day, and I've got like 4.5 hours of talk time still available, and it's incredible. I don't have to worry about noises getting in, because the noise isolating fit sets these earbuds just apart from everybody. The sound quality is second to none, and the price, well, it's incredible. Normally you pay $200-$300 for something like this, and you're still probably going to get stems and wires, and you'll get none of that with these. They are absolutely the best earbuds around, and for the price, there is no competition. Get your Raycons now, the best earbuds around, and they start under $100, and you're going to save 15%. BuyRaycon.com/Chad. BuyRaycon.com/Chad. Get yours now. BuyRaycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Welcome to Chad. No, not the country. The institution. The Chad Benson Show.
A mega jackpot for Mega Millions. There was no winner in Tuesday night's whopping $625 million prize, so the pot grows to $750 million. It's now the second largest jackpot in Mega Millions history, with the cash prize lump sum amount topping more than $500,000. Still, you have virtually no chance of winning. The odds are 1 in more than 300 million. But as the saying goes, you gotta play to win. The next Mega Millions drawing is Friday night.
Here's a question. Can I just buy 300 million tickets if it's worth probably cash values about 500 million? I would change the odds a bit, right? And if I won, if I had that kind of money, I'd pick up some money. I don't know if it works that way, Chad. I'm just screwing around. We can all dream, right? You're saying there's a chance. You're not. The funny thing is, I always say, well, your odds of winning, of course. But somebody's going to win eventually. Why not me? Why not me? With all the chaos, with all of the crazies. Think about this. All of the stuff that's going on. All of this stuff. Somebody's going to win $700-800 million. Who knows? Could go up to $1 billion with all of this stuff. Somebody who potentially is wake up and they're pissed off and they're angry and the COVID's kicked them in the grundle and they've lost their job or their business is slow to the point where they can't even keep the lights on, and they're going to potentially win all this money. How cool is that? It's good to dream, man. It's good to have goals. I love this stuff. I totally do. You know, somebody asked me yesterday, hey, Chad, Trump's going to leave. What are you going to talk about? So let me tell you something about Trump. So Trump hurt my business. How does it hurt your business? Because I like politics, but I like pop culture and life too. I don't want to talk about Donald Trump or Joe Biden for 4 years. We'll discuss the things that need to be discussed. It's real. The drama, it was just too much. It got old. I like talking about stuff like this. Like, what would you do? What would you do with this kind of coin? What would you do? You're like, I don't know. Like, who's the first call to? Because we always think everybody, you'd be lying if you say you didn't think about it. Right? You'd be lying if you say, well, you go, you buy your ticket and stuff. Yeah, it'd be fun. But there's a moment or two you're like, okay, who is the first person I would call? How would I handle it? Do I tell anybody? Do I tell nobody? Do I break up with my girlfriend or my husband or my boyfriend? Wait, what? But do I pay off my mom and dad's house? Make sure that the kids are set for, and you start going through the things. And even though the chances are so slim, it's still something that's a bit of a respite from the chaos. It's still something that makes you go out of sometimes the craziness and the chaos and the noise and, to a little bit of a safe place. And the good news is, too, you don't need 23andMe or any of those DNA tests. The minute you win the lottery like this, you will find out who your cousins and uncles and great aunts and nephews are. They will come out of the woodwork because they all have an amazing idea for a business. I'm just saying. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. People are wondering, will Trump resign? Chris Christie.
Knowing him for as long as I have, I would find it hard to believe that he would ever do something like that. I think he's just going to do what he always does, which is kind of attempt to ride it out.
7 days away till the inauguration of Joe Biden. What are the chances that he resigns? How can we move on from this? What's the best thing for Biden to do moving forward and for the country? Oh, there's a lot of ways this thing could play itself out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Knowing him for as long as I have, I would find it hard to believe that he would ever do something like that. I think he's just going to do what he always does, which is kind of attempt to ride it out.
Chris Christie there talking about Trump. Would he resign? I don't know if there would have to be something in it for Trump, right? Like Trump doesn't do something unless there's something in it for Trump. Most of us like to get a little something for doing something, right? We do. Let's not pretend. I mean, we always act like, oh, he's the only one. No, but for Trump, in a way that's way bigger than everybody else, it's about Trump. And because it's about Trump, he ain't doing something unless there's something in it for Trump. What's in it for me? Well, quit before you're convicted. It's a possibility. Leaves open the door, potentially, of 2024. It does. People say, well, that can never happen. Well, if he walked away, the possibility is there. Because you never know what's going to happen in the next 4 years, right? We could just, it could go sideways. Biden can run it into the ground, and my God, people will be calling for, anything but, and you never know. I don't think that's going to happen, and I'll put money on that. I don't think it's going to happen. What I do think Trump, though, would do is he would want some guarantees. Again, a lot of this comes with guarantees. The Republicans, Mitch McConnell said it, an impeachment would be great because it would rid Trump from the party, meaning They would make it so there is no chance for him. No chance for him to ever run again, to hold office, to even think about it. Zero chance. If I'm Biden, you walk a fine line. You know, I mean, he wants to. For those of you out there who think Biden is some sort of bizarre socialist that's going to turn us into Venezuela or China, you guys are nuts. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The culture war is very real, and that's stuff we've discussed, and we'll continue to do so on the show. Right? The snowflakey world of telling people the truth and then having them freak out or throwing a fit because, you know, somebody is doing a podcast and you feel uncomfortable with it and you don't want to work there anymore. That stuff's insane. It is. And that's a battle that needs to be fought. And by fighting, I mean with intellect, data, facts. If I'm Biden, maybe I go to Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and even Mitch McConnell. And I say, guys, I got an idea. Help potentially rid us of him ever running again and maybe rid us, period. And it could also make us look good. At least me. I don't really care about you guys. I'm Biden. At this point, I don't care. Okay, what's your plan? We impeach him. You guys do your thing. Mitch, we do it in one day. Get it done. I pardon him that night. I'm sworn in the next day. We move on. You know, my first act after I'm sworn in is pardoning him, and we move on. And we let everybody know that that's what's going to happen. We let everybody know, essentially, let it get out there that that's what's going to happen, and be done with it. It'll look like a great gesture, and it'll help me start my term off without having to deal in this hanging over the entire first 100 days or however long this thing may last. Smart thing to do. Will it happen? I don't know. At the end of the day, Trump, and this isn't even about last week, and I go back to this, right? I go back to the chaos and craziness of last Wednesday. This is about the last 60 plus days. The continuous insanity that he pushed out there. The continuous insanity, and people say, oh, what do you know? Let me tell you, I know a lot of the people that he accused things of in states like Georgia and Arizona. And the continuous pushing of a lie was ridiculous. And this wasn't like, hey, you know what? There was 700,000 quadrillion people at my inauguration when there was 8. One of those things, right? I expect all politicians are doing something. They're lying in 1 minute, telling the truth in the next, and it could be the same thing they're talking about. It just depends on who they're talking to. And so, yeah, there has to be something done. But I don't think Biden wants to spend his first 100 days, when you've got the most political power you're probably going to have, fighting this still, hanging over the beginning of your presidency. That has already been nothing but drama before it ever got there. That's the reality of it. Now, for some people, I think they're going to see this as a move that, hey, yeah, you know, that could. For others, some people, Trump is it. Trump is Yahweh. Trump is God. Trump is all things. And the thought of him lying to them, they couldn't even fathom.
I believe that either foreign intelligence officers or local militant groups incited the conflict.
I feel it was people like Antifa, Black Lives Matter, who infiltrated the crowd that caused the problems.
This was a stolen election. There'll be a price sooner or later.
Nobody's ever actually looked at the evidence, so there's definitely evidence towards that, just that nobody wants to look at it.
I want my President Trump standing up there being inaugurated as an extended president of the United States.
Those people are never going to change their mind. And they couldn't even fathom if he lied. I saw one person said, if I found out he lied to me, I'd probably never vote again. That's scary. But to listen to them, it was not Antifa. Kevin McCarthy yelled at Trump and said, "Stop lying. It was not Antifa. I was there." But some people are so into it, you're not going to pull them back out. They've gone down that hole, and they're not coming out. For a lot of people, they're trying to figure out how this got the way that it did. How could Trump have 50,000 quadrillion people at a rally and Biden has 8 and yet he wins? And I have to continually explain to them, did you see a lot of those riots and Black Lives Matter marches and protests? Yeah. Think of those as Biden rallies. Oh, yeah, that's different. But now is the chance to play it right and I think make a move forward. Doesn't mean things won't happen. And that's the reality of it. On the other side of it, you have the fallout from last week. They're coming hard, big time. Paul Gosar, who started the whole thing last week, was also at the rally. He's being named by a guy named, I think his name's Ali Alexander, who's part of Stop the Steal, along with Andy Biggs and Mo Brooks, as 3 congressional members who helped organize a lot of what took place last week. Andy Biggs is denying it. Gosar they've got all kinds of stuff between the two of these guys as far as tweets and things of that nature, pictures of them together. And this guy said that they helped him with a lot of stuff. And they're catching these people left, right, and center.
The FBI, working with the U.S. attorney's offices across the country and those in D.C., we're looking at significant felony cases tied to sedition and conspiracy. Just yesterday, our office organized a strike force of very senior national security prosecutors. Their only marching orders from me are to build seditious and conspiracy charges related to the most heinous acts that occurred in the Capitol. And these are significant charges that have felonies with prison terms of up to 20 years.
Yeah. Some of these people that were wandering through and thinking they were having a good old time have no idea that their lives are forever changed in a way that they can't even fathom. They can't. That's Michael Sherwin, D.C. acting attorney, FBI Steve DeTono, talking about the FBI and their process and thoughts.
I want to stress that the FBI has a long memory and a broad reach. Agents and our partners are on the streets investigating leads not only here in the D.C. area, but also across the country through the FBI's 56 field offices. So even if you've left D.C., agents from our local field offices will be knocking on your door if we find out that you were part of the criminal activity at the Capitol.
Yeah. And here's another thing, you idiots, that shows you the magic of stupidity at times. The want to be famous, the want to be an influencer, the want to grow your social media footprint and to become a mover and shaker in the Trump world by live streaming your stupidity was fantastic. Makes it easier. Makes it so easy that within a little while, some of these people were already on the no-fly list.
Trump supporters who ended up on the no-fly list. How did the FBI get them on the no-fly list so quickly? Well, it comes down to Parler. You see, Parler allows people to become verified citizens. by posting pictures of their driver's licenses on the app. This is all supposed to be held securely, but when multiple services pulled support from Parler, that included their security. As a result, hackers were able to access tens of thousands of verified accounts and match them to people who said they were in D.C. And so, they turned it all over to the FBI.
Here's your sign. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. For all the talk about, why weren't there any police there when there's Black Lives Matter and the stuff that went on in Portland and stuff, you have all of these people, it looks like in riot gear and military. Here's something that I didn't see throughout any of the summer, all of that, with the burning down of buildings, the destroying of neighborhoods, the killing of people. I didn't see massive press conferences 24/7 talking about sending these guys to jail on a national level. Oh, it may be on a local level. Justice will be served. And yeah, you know what? When Black Lives Matter shows up, they were loaded for bear to protect, and they should have thought forward. But everybody needs to stop making arguments about how they were treated, the people that did bad things. 30,000 people or 25,000, depending on who you talk to, showed up that day. 99% of them, 97% of them left. They were there to be protesters and to rally. And the same thing goes with a lot of the Black Lives Matter movement. People show up, and then what do they always say? When it gets dark or a little bit later, the protesters leave and the chaos ensues. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet, text, love hearing from you. Home title lock. Now imagine this. We're just talking about how easy it is for them to immediately find out who some of these people were based on what? The internet. Here's something you probably don't know. Your home can be stolen. Check this out, okay? So all they need is your address and name, and then they can steal your house. They forge your signature as if you sold the house to them. They have the title in their hands. It's theirs. Maybe your house is worth $300,000. You only own $100,000. They could take out a couple $100,000 loan against your home. You would never know it until it's too late because you start getting those notices. By the time you go to court, it's done. Maybe they want you to send them money to get your title back. They're holding it hostage. And they want you to do it through Bitcoin or something like that. There's not a lot you can do. It is so easy for them to do, and it's happening more and more. Protect yourself with the home title lock. They're going to let you know if somebody's trying to do something. They're going to let you know if online scammers are out there trying to get to your home and its title. And that's something that, you want to protect. It's another way for them to continue to and so many people are having their homes essentially held hostage. And it's growing. It's profitable and it's easy. Protect your home now with Home Title Lock. Go to HometitleLock.com. Register your address. See if you've already been a victim. And get this. Use code radio. 30 days of free protection to help you through the chaos and the craziness and the potential of this. That's code radio at HometitleLock.com. Code radio, HometitleLock.com. Chad Benson Show.
Darn, that climate change. Batten down the hatches. It's Topical Storm Chad. Headed your way.
For the first time ever, Netflix promising a new movie each week this year with the biggest names in the biz.
I'm getting to the good part.
Dwayne Johnson, Gal Gadot, and Ryan Reynolds star in Red Notice, Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence in Don't Look Up. The move comes as over half of the country's movie theaters remain closed and viewing habits are shifting to the home. This is the Consumer Technology Association put out a report Tuesday saying U.S. spending on streaming subscriptions could hit $41 billion this year, a massive number for something that didn't exist 10 years ago.
And think about this, right? So I miss movies. You guys listen to my show. You guys know the thing I miss the most since this pandemic has started is movies. Last year I saw, or the year before the pandemic, I saw one movie last year. Took the kids to see Sonic. But I think the year before I saw 30-some movies, 40 movies, something like that. Normally, my MO is, because I live so far out of town, I stay in town one night a week. I go to a movie on Thursday night, whatever's opening up, if it's something I really want to see, and usually there's one a week that I probably want to go see, and it's a way that I kind of just let it go. And it's 2 hours of me eating my popcorn, get my hot dog. I mean, the routine is, and I love it. And I really miss it. The thing is, movies are expensive. Sometimes you go and you take your whole family, man, and that costs you $150. People are going to be crunched for money. Even when movies reopen, people are going to be like, I'm not getting rid of my subscription from home because the movie's a one-time thing. This thing is all the time thing. And Netflix is throwing so much money at everybody right now. They just signed a huge deal with Kevin Hart. Massive. So we'll see. It's going to be very interesting to see how movies rebound. And if I'm the movie industry, especially the theater industry, you got to start really figuring out how you're going to make things flow. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Part 2, speaking of movies, impeachment. Part 2, the revenge. Crazy, right? Crazy. A week away from Biden taking the oath. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Even though, according to his own administration, that this election was the most secure in our history, Donald Trump repeated his big lie that this election was an egregious assault on democracy.
Impeachment Part 2. Yeah, earlier today, Jim McGovern, Democrat, Massachusetts, talking about Trump as we head into impeachment part 2. I'm not going to get into the minutia of all the stuff that went down and all. Those things I don't. I want to look forward. I do. We'll touch on some of it. And the question is, does this help? Does this hurt?
Congress and the nation can move forward knowing that the political process was completed as designed and that the constitutional framework that has governed our republic since 1789 held firm.
Tom Cole, Republican, Oklahoma, talking about, yes, the process of what we went through, we move forward, but will this help or hurt? Will this unite us or divide us? Depends on who you talk to.
I can think of no action the House can take that's more likely to further divide the American people than the action we are contemplating today.
Action is action. Done. Now the question. What happens from here? Okay, first president in history to be impeached twice. What's next? Mitch McConnell and them, they get back on the 19th, day before the inauguration. So 6 days from now, they return to session. He's got one day. The next day, Chuck Schumer will lead the Senate. So indictment, if you will, the way you look at impeachment, he's been, here it is, insurrection, indictment, boom. Now what? Now what's the next move? And judging by what people are saying, and Mitch is totally fine with this. Mitch wants them to move forward with this. Mitch wants them to push forward with this because at the end of the day, he's over Trump. At the end of the day, this has been more headache than he ever thought it would probably be. And he got everything he could out of Trump, and there's nothing else he can get. Trump offers him nothing else. You can do nothing else for me. We got judges federally. We reshaped the system. We got 3 on the Supreme Court. We have regulations that we're cutting to a third or a half. We got tax reform. You know, you still spent like you were a sailor on shore leave with a pocket full of money. I can't get anything else from you. There's nothing else I could do. Sorry. Will they go through with it as far as convicting him? Yeah, I think that's the end game. And I think the Republicans, the higher-ups, the people in the Republican Party, and we've talked about it, whose party is it? You know, months ago, years ago, before pre-coronavirus, it was Trump's party. And I think they were all resigned to, that's his party. I don't know what we're going to do now. Then as we move forward, coronavirus got out of hand. Some good things, some bad things, times where he just looked so disinterested, the continuous lies, it's just going to disappear. And you know, it just a lot of stuff. Some people bought into everything. Others held their nose and said, well, if my choice is this or that, I'm going to choose this. Because I can look at some of the stuff that he's done, and I could, in good conscience, as far as the voting side of it, say, I believe more in this than I do that. I believe in more that Trump and the Republicans will govern more to the beliefs that I have than Biden and the Democrats will. So I'll hold my nose. The whole thought process that 75 million Americans are all willing to take up arms and fight for Trump is absurd. First of all, have you seen most Americans? We're too busy looking at our phones. Even in the insanity and criminality of last week, everybody had their phone out filming it by and large. So I think he's good with it. And you know, New York Times has got a piece out, and I don't think Mitch really cares. He's not denying any of the things that are in that article. That says a lot right there. And because of that, which was easy to see. I mean, come on. Mitch McConnell and Trump were never pals. He was an outsider. And that was the whole point. We got excited about him. He's an outsider. He's going to come in and do stuff. But Mitch wants him gone. And Mitch wants him gone in such a way that it'll put pressure on the Democrats and potentially make them look bad. And on the other side, he won't have to worry about the Republican Party going forward having to deal with Trump. Oh, there'll still be followers of Trump. But at the end of the day, you don't have to worry about him running again, which would cause headache. So we'll see. We'll see how this plays itself out. And McConnell, Schumer, and Biden. And unfortunately, for Biden, why would you say that? Because he's going to be my president. You voted for Biden? No, I didn't vote for any of these guys. I went with Joe Jorgensen. But unfortunately, he's got to start his presidency out this way. And I don't think that was something he was hoping for, right? This looming over his head. Jim Clyburn, the guy who really saved Biden's butt and hide in the, primaries, who's been a really close confidant of his, has essentially told him, do your first 100 days without the chaos of this hanging over you, and then address it. Which is always a possibility. You've got the most political cachet those first 100 days, maybe the first year. Now, the sad thing is, and I'll say this, Trump didn't have that. Trump had chaos. Trump had fighting. Trump had the media. Trump had the Washington Post saying on day one, as he's being inaugurated, the march to impeachment begins now. So Trump didn't have that. Biden, for the most part, will have some political run. So you try to get the things through that you think you're going to get through. And then you go from there. So we'll see the way that this plays itself out. Remember, all these things are politics. Does it look bad for you? And it can benefit me? Oh, then we should totally do it. Even though, in some ways, you feel it's looking good for you. The reality is people get bored. And they're like, they shouldn't have done that. It's too much. We're still keeping them around. We're making them relevant. And that's the thing that eats Trump up the most. Right now, he's not relevant. Well, yeah, he is. He's the president. He's not. He's been neutered. Joint Chiefs have already told, this thought process that he's going to declare, martial law and control everything. He's essentially been neutered. The Republicans started jumping ship the other day, and it was made easy. Made much easier by the fact that he had nowhere to voice his disdain for people that weren't with him 100% and only agreed with everything he said. It's much easier because there was no way for him to lash out. So now the question is, how does Biden and the Democrats, and yes, the Republican and the Republican higher-ups, handle the second impeachment? Will it be quick and all about that day? Will it be quick and all about what took place from the night of the election all the way through and the run up into there? Because if it is, that's one thing. If they relive everything over the past 4 years, that's when people are saying, you guys are out to get Trump. You've always been out to get Trump, and it'll give people a reason to push back.
I can't think of anything that would unify this country more if there was a big bipartisan vote in favor of impeachment. Every second that this president remains in office is a danger to this country and to the world.
A lot of stuff. Again, we're going to touch on it. I don't spend hours on it. The real thing comes when the Senate decides how they play this thing out. That's the real biggie. This has been coming since last week. So it being done is what it is. The next thing is, how does the Senate and Biden handle it? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. I asked a question on Twitter because, you know what, all the chaos, all the craziness, we need to talk about real life stuff. And this is the stuff that I talk about a lot. $750 million is the Mega Millions. You get $750 million. Of course, now you can take the lump payment or you're going to take it over payouts. Those are things you have to think about, right? So then you get those things. And the question's pretty simple. First thing you do, what is it? Who's the first person you call? What's the first thing you buy? Think about that. Tweet at me, at Chad Benson Show. Text the program as well. 323-538-2423. 323-538-2423. My Pillow, amazing My Pillow, the one that started it all. It's awesome. I love my Pillow. Right now, that one, normally $69.98, now $29.98. That's a great deal. Machine washable and dryable, 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty, made right here in the USA. $5 extra, you can get a king-size one. It's got the patented fill. On top of that, My Pillow's all amazing discounts and deals right now on all the products, from the Giza Dream Sheets to the mattress toppers and everything in between. Go to MyPillow.com. When you do, use the promo code Benson. When you do that, you're going to save big. Get that MyPillow for $29.98. That's a massive saving. Huge. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Serving up talk radio medium rare and dripping with irony. It's Chad Benson.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? All right, let's talk about some of the fun stuff that has trended over the last 24 to 48 hours. Things that are trending, not just here, but globally. Like what's different comparatively. Because we always think that, it's all politics. As you know, for me, a little bit of that, a lot of bit of everything. We're having a conversation. Mega Millions. Trending like you could not believe. $750 million. Second largest jackpot ever. It's a question we have on the old poll today. Whatever. Threw it out to you guys. Who's the first person you call? It's the first thing that you do and buy for yourself. You can tweet at Chad Benson Show or text the program 323-538-2423. Chuck Norris trending. He wasn't at the Capitol riots, despite Twitter claims. And, if it's on Twitter, Liz Cheney, of course, the third highest ranking member in the House. She's the chairman. She is voting for impeachment. Head on over to Twitter. Twitter's always different. Twitter can get a little bit more political. It can also get a little weirder. One of the things they're talking about is why was Trump visiting the border? It's kind of where it started, right? The wall. The wall became such a big thing. The wall became such a huge thing. It did. Geraldo Rivera tweeted out earlier today, a loyal friend hounded without mercy by Democrats intent on destroying him from day one. Truth in that. Then he lost the election. It made him crazy and revealed the dysfunction I had refused to see. He then unleashed a mob to make war on their own government. 5 to their doom. At Liz Cheney is right. At Liz Cheney is right. Meaning he has to go. People, I get a lot of well, you defended Trump. I did defend Trump where he needed to be defended. So much of the chaos, the media played a huge part in. So much of the chaos of he tweeted something, we take it this way, we're running with it. A lot of stuff that people came out and accused Trump of doing or being ended up being a bunch of crap. And Geraldo was right, which so much of it was an absolute hounding of him from day one. He never got his honeymoon period. In saying all of that, the election was totally different. Somewhere, you start thinking, did he buy into his own baloney? Did he buy into something that he went into such a rabbit hole that he couldn't come out of? That's why I say, don't just look at the events of last week. Look for the last 60 days, the run-up to that day, the run-up of the lies, the run-up of the insanity, the run-up of the continuous bold-faced lies that culminated with that day, the chaos and the tragedy. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We were attacked by terrorists, but this time the terrorists were radicalized right here in the United States. Worse, they were radicalized by the president, who intentionally lied to his supporters that the election was stolen and then told them when to come to D.C., where to protest, and who to direct their anger at.
Judy Chu, Democrat, California, earlier today. Impeachment part 2. It's up to the Senate now. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? When you gonna get down? And that remains to be seen. I'm sure Mitch is thinking about a lot of things. I'm sure, we know Chucky's always thinking about some, and Biden will play a role in this as well. And here's the thing. Biden has a real opportunity to be a unifier as much as you can. You're not going to unify people that still believe that Trump is the second coming, and he is on top of their mind 24/7. That no matter what he says, they will believe it, lock, stock, and barrel. You're not going to unify them. They live in a different world. They live in a world that at this point in time is their own world, and that's it.
I believe that either foreign intelligence officers or local militant groups incited the conflict.
I feel it was people like Antifa, Black Lives Matter, who infiltrated the crowd that caused the problems.
This was a stolen election. There'll be a price sooner or later.
Nobody's ever actually looked at the evidence, so there's definitely evidence towards that, just that nobody wants to look at it.
I want my President Trump standing up there being inaugurated as an extended president of the United States.
People looked into the evidence. Department of Justice have looked into the evidence. Local and state officials have looked into the evidence. They just haven't delivered the things that these people want to hear and think that's real, because the person who they refuse to question tells them so. So him being impeached for a second time, there it is. Now it's up to you guys over there in the Senate. And how Biden could help this along is, and how he plays this will be very, very, very delicately. And the potential for it to fall on one side or the other and become a hot mess and have Trump become part of his presidency. If you want to punish Trump, if that is the goal, then the best thing you do is make him irrelevant as best that you can. You make him irrelevant. Right now he's apoplectic. He is. He knows he's done something wrong. Kevin McCarthy said in their conversation that he acknowledges that he had a part to play in this. Now, he would never say that out loud. That's not who he is. But it's the thought of being irrelevant that would eat him up. No more cameras, no more drama, no more being the center of attention. No more of all of this stuff, and having the opportunity to get a message out and to continue to grow the base and the fans and all of that stuff. Oh, that's the punishment. And an impeachment that lasts for months, or, potentially keeping him at the center of it, because you don't do it immediately and you keep it out there and you allow it to hang out before you even, and you try to get some stuff through, and you try to bifurcate the two. You do some of this one day and some of this the other. That's not a helper for the country. I think at this point, and the majority of the polls say people just want to move on. They just want it to be over and done with. So Biden's going to have to figure out what to do from here. How he goes about playing this. All the while this is going on, we still have the coronavirus. We still have issues with the coronavirus, and we need to start figuring out how we get this thing flowing in a much better way when it comes to the vaccines in people's arms if they want them.
The production system is working. We'll get second doses to everybody as quickly as possible. There's no fear that somehow production of these vaccines will collapse.
Which is weird because, you know, you hear that they can do this many and that many, and then the worry is, are they going to have enough? So they're holding stuff back. Why are we holding things back?
I think he's responding to the Biden team, which last week said that we're going to start releasing more vaccines. You know, we're holding way too many vaccine doses back. We're in a crisis. And what people are saying is, let's get those doses out to people.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I've been saying is, I think, first of all, like a perfect problem we have here that I was talking to on one of the other show. We have a news lady. Her name's Becky, and her mother, she took her in last night to get her vaccine. She's like 75 or 80, and she's high risk. And, you know, she's like the portal, Chad, to get on the list to get your vaccination, scheduled in the whole 9 yards. She goes, my mother would never figure that out. Never in a million years. And I said, yeah, I've talked to a lot of people in different states, older people who are confused. I had somebody direct message me there on Facebook, and they were completely confused. Can I help? And that was the frustrating thing. The other thing is, a lot of these things, they're just sitting there. There's empty scheduling. We've got 50,000 open dates. Well, at some point, don't you just start to say, let's move down the line now? And that's one of the things they're looking at, which is newer guidelines.
Just a third of the shots that have been delivered have actually been administered, and the federal government is facing criticism because of it. So a couple of things are going to happen to speed up this process. For one, they're going to release both vaccine doses. They're no longer going to hold those second doses back. They don't want any shots to go to waste. And the CDC is now recommending that states expand who they're vaccinating to include people over 65 years old and any adults with pre-existing conditions.
And at some point, too, I think you say, you know what, we're going to open it up. We've got 50,000 vaccines. This is group A, B, C, like 1A, 1B. And some states are different than others, the way that they work things. And at some point, don't you just say, all right, because most places are setting up 24-hour places to go get vaccinated, that you set a schedule, and then at the end of the day, the stuff that's not hit, you go to the next group of people and send them out. You almost get them on a waiting list and send them out an email saying, or a text saying, can you be here in the next 30 minutes? You're in line for a vaccine. And that's if you want them. Again, if you want it. Never tell you to get a vaccine. Never tell you not to get a vaccine. Do your research, do your homework. What do you feel safe with? We're going to have to learn to live with this thing, through this thing, and around this thing. And us having the vaccine isn't going to make it go away overnight. Herd immunity, many people are saying, even the World Health Organization said, herd immunity, even with the vaccine, isn't going to be hit the way that people think. Now, we're fortunate. We're in the Western world. Let's be real. We'll get there, as will a lot of other Western countries with might and money, faster than a lot of other places. But next Wednesday, Biden becoming president doesn't make this thing go away. He's already having frustrations with the way that this thing is rolled out and the way that his task force is put together. So it's not an overnight thing. And because of that, unemployment, jobs, we're kind of in this stagnating situation here where some states are completely shut down. I mean, even Cuomo, the worst of the lot, said we can't afford to stay shut down anymore. There'll be nothing to come back to. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. If you hadn't heard, Mega Millions, baby.
A mega jackpot for Mega Millions. There was no winner in Tuesday night's whopping $625 million prize, so the pot grows to $750 million. It's now the second largest jackpot in Mega Millions history, with the cash prize lump sum amount topping more than $500,000. Still, you have virtually no chance of winning. The odds are 1 in more than 300 million. But as the saying goes, you gotta play to win. The next Mega Millions drawing is Friday night.
All right, so let's break it down. You have two ways to get your money if you win. The first, as of now, lump sum $458 million. And that will probably grow. The second, an annuity over 30 years. You get the first payment immediately. Then each subsequent payment is 5% bigger than the previous one, which helps protect the winner's lifestyle and purchasing power in periods of inflation and whatnot. So let's just say you want $100 million and you want the payment option. You're going to get about $1.5 million, and the future annual payments will grow to the last payment, $6.2 million. So that's the way that would work. Choice is yours. We asked a lot of you and continue to do so and getting a lot of good answers. And what would you do? Because we all go through it, the opportunity. We think to ourselves, well, you know what? You call your wife or your boyfriend or your husband or whatever it is, or your mom. Hey, can you pick up some Mega Millions? Your friends at work are like, hey, we're all pitching in. Because it's at that point where you're like, well, I got it, right? Because, I mean, I know there's no chance, but there's kind of a chance. But you don't know. What's the first thing you do? Who's the first person you call? What's the first thing you buy? Kimmy in for Phil this week, who is on a much-needed quarantine. All right, Kimmy, you said you've worked it out in your brain. What do you do? First thing you do, what do you do?
Very first thing that I do, I'm going to pay off my student loans. 100%. Nice. And then
who's the first person you call?
First person I call, my mom.
Okay. So you pay off that. You've called your mom. First thing that's a Kimmy thing, that's just for you, a buy for you.
Just for me, I would buy a big house on at least 2-3 acres of land far out in the country and put a bunch of rescued animals on it.
No, I like that. That's good. That's good.
It'd be like my heaven.
There you go. And it's good to dream. And we need things like this. And this is stuff, this is real life. Because as much as people may talk a little bit about what's going on in the impeachment world, they'll talk about what's going on with their kids and why aren't they in school, they'll hear this and people are, yeah, we were talking about that today at work, Chad. Because why not? Right? For all the chaos and craziness, somebody's going to win $750+ million. Why not you? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Irreverent? Yeah. So what? It's the Chad Benson Show.
Some of my Republican friends have been trying to lecture us about unity here today. Unity, after they voted to overturn a free and fair election in the United States of America.
Jim McGovern, Trump impeached for a second time. Congratulations. You go down in history. Unity, neither side's about unity. Here, let me tell you why unity doesn't work for the parties. Because in chaos, in arguing, and in fighting lies money. That's there it is. I mean, that's the reality of why neither side really wants unity. I mean, they recognized, both sides, by the way, recognize what took place last week was wrong. Both sides recognize what took place was absolutely appalling. And that the president played a part. And as we're finding out more and more, it sounds like some of the officers potentially played a part. Maybe even some Congress people were involved to a certain level. So we all recognize that. But the reality is you're making money off of it. Why would I stop? Right? Why would we stop fighting when we're still getting paid? Oh, yeah. Why would we? Because so they're not interested in unity. There's unity when there needs to be for things that are real, when they can truly set aside the differences because it's more important about being an American than a Democrat or Republican. And up until last week, everybody was raising money off of it. People were getting quick, clicks and likes and shares. And so it was those things were important. But then things changed and then the reality set in. And here we are. So I don't know what's going to happen with, there's so many different ways that this thing could be played out when it comes to what the Senate will do. There's so many things that they can do. And I want to see, too, how, what's Mitch's role in this? Because while they come back the 19th, on the 20th, he's not the leader anymore. That'll be Chuck Schumer. How do you play this, Mitch? All right, we know you're happy about it. You want him gone. You want him out of here. I get it. But how do you play it? I'll tell you how he plays it. What benefits me and the party the most? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Then there's always the whole pardoning thing.
The president has been warned by some of his lawyers that if he goes ahead and pardons himself, he could be more vulnerable to civil lawsuits, including from some of those injured in the Capitol riot, because a self-pardon would be seen as an admission that he did something wrong that he would need to be pardoned for.
That is interesting. And I'm sure he's pissed. Can I pardon myself? How do I pardon myself? What do I do to pardon myself? Is this even a possibility? I don't know. Because he's looking for that get out of jail free card, if you will. He is. And I don't think putting him in jail or arresting him or any of this look, it's one thing on the political side to say we've had enough and we're not going to do this. And it's time to go. And I think absolutely it is. And it's going to happen next week. It's just how far do you pursue it after that? We shall see. I will say this, between now and next week, next Wednesday, oh my God, I can't wait to see the insanity of the pardons that are coming. I'm thinking Tiger King's getting one. I'm thinking it may happen. I don't know, but I just have a feeling. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Many of them gave oxygen to Donald Trump's conspiracy theories, to the big lies. They turned the other way in the face of racism and bigotry and how he embraced some of the most intolerant voices in this country.
Earlier today, Jim McGovern, Democrat, Massachusetts. Trump. A dubious distinction for Trump, being the first president impeached twice. And now you've got really an eroding of any kind of help, really, in D.C. And the Senate, where Mitch, at least for a day when they return, will have the opportunity to figure out what they're going to do with this. And Biden's going to have to figure that out as well. Don't know what they will do with it. What's Biden going to say to Schumer? Because even though Biden is the president of the United States, and it will in a week from now, and then Chuck will be the leader of the Senate, the reality is Chuck can kind of proceed the way he's going to proceed. This is a trial that will be going on there. So, a lot of things to figure out. A lot of things to figure out. Don't really... I think there's so many things out there that they're going to try to figure, like, okay, how do we play this? If you're the Democrats, do we go hard early? But that's the first 100 days, right? Everybody talks about the first 100 days. That's the first 100 days. First 100 days. It's supposed to be kind of the honeymoon period where you really usher in the things that you want to, try to get through and get done. It's that first 100 days. Well, do you want that hanging over you? Probably not. But we've also got a very short attention span. So 150, 200 days out from now, people will be going, do we really want to relive this? Is this really something we should be doing? I mean, there's so many, or do you get into it early? Do you go and you make a deal, with Biden early on with McConnell and Chuck Schumer, and of course you bring in, Kamala, she's the vice president. And in doing that, you say essentially, look, here's the deal. I want this over and done with. So here's what I'm thinking. It's quick, it's fast, and I make it the first thing I do, which is pardon him. And then we move on. There you go. We'll see. A lot of different ways to play it. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. All that being said, what happens to the followers of Trump? I give a lot of thought to this, right? Yesterday I was reading, like, Neil Young, who is a super lefty, right? I mean, we're not talking about, like, he is extremely left. Came out and said he felt sadness and compassion for the rioters. He says, we don't need this hate. And he's right. I play this here, but you listen to so many of these people, but these are a bunch of faithful Trump supporters, right? They love the president. He's their president. They love him. And I've seen a bunch of videos, and they were manipulated. They were. The last 60 days in particular has been where all this stems from. Before that, it was politics, and it was full contact karate and jiu-jitsu, and it was MMA, and it was all of those things. It was politics, and it was media. It was all of those things. And there was some conspiracy theories, which there be now, by the way. Do you think just because Trump goes away, conspiracy theories are going to go away? You're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself. But in saying that, I talk to a lot of people who attack me, and some of them, we have a conversation. A lot of them we don't, because they want no part of it. But the want to believe and the hanging on every word, and it's not all of them are, because I think we think that everybody who's been manipulated is undereducated, lives in an echo chamber, not very bright. There are some people that were bright at that Capitol last week doing stuff. But there were a lot of people out there who, for a lack of a better term, were just gullible and just bought into it. But rather than being gullible over something like they took gullible out of the dictionary, it was something nefarious.
I believe that either foreign intelligence officers or local militant groups incited the conflict.
I feel it was people like Antifa, Black Lives Matter, who infiltrated the crowd that caused the problems.
This was a stolen election. There'll be a price sooner or later.
Nobody's ever actually looked at the evidence, so there's definitely evidence towards that, just that nobody wants to look at it.
I want my President Trump standing up there being inaugurated as an extended president of the United States.
And there was a guy I saw also earlier in the clip where he's a stay-at-home dad of 3, and he's getting out of his car, and he's got a baseball bat and fatigues on and an American flag. And this is all taking place, yesterday as he went down to the border wall. And the guy goes, "Why are you here? What is all this stuff for?" He goes, "Well, I'm here to protect the crowd from Antifa." I'm like, wow. Like, you're gone. You're gone. I don't know. Like, some of these people, right? And it's the same thing with people on the left. It's like some of these, everybody's got their conspiracy, weird, wacky. It's like there are people out there who still believe like that George Bush and Dick Cheney pulled off 9/11, and you can't talk to them. It was an inside job. Like, nothing you can do will ever dissuade them from that. There's just, we still talk about whether or not we landed on the moon. I mean, there's always some sort of, and some people they're looking for conspiracies. They're looking for the boogeyman. They're looking for the evil. They're looking for, and they would know truth if it bit them. But for a lot of these people, they're not bad people. They're in an echo chamber. They felt small and insignificant. They felt Trump gave them a voice, and he fed into that. And the last 60 days was what culminated in last week. The biggest lies that were told on that day, right? And this is something I think we don't talk about. As they go through and they impeach him and they do all this stuff, and we head into the second impeachment of Trump. The insurrection and the things that they'll talk about in the trial. And by the way, it's like that's the other thing. We're going to be potentially the reliving of this thing in front, and we may find out a lot of other crazy stuff, and we'll touch on that in a bit. But to me, it wasn't we're going to go down there in March. Let's go hear your voices and stuff. Because, Trump he's yesterday he's out there and he's telling everybody, just how great, as usual, his speech and stuff was.
So if you read my speech, and many people have done it, it's been analyzed, and people thought that what I said was totally appropriate. And if you look at what other people have said, politicians at a high level, about the riots during the summer, the horrible riots in Portland and Seattle and various other places, that was a real problem, what they said. But they've analyzed my speech and my words and my final paragraph, my final sentence, and everybody to the T thought it was totally appropriate.
He even admitted to Kevin McCarthy that, yeah, he had done, he knows he played a part in this. But it was the continuous lies of Mike Pence and those congressmen and women down there can fix it. Mike Pence has a magic wand that can fix it. Mike Pence can be the hero here. And they believed it. And they came hunting. Hang Mike Pence was trending, and people were chanting it. They were actively looking for people who they thought were traitors. Not to the country, but to Donald Trump. That's, to me, is everything else that led up to that. all of the other stuff, all the lies about the Dominion system, all the lies about people I know that were involved in running in places like Arizona and Georgia, who were good, staunch Republicans, if you will, these elections. And that all culminated with the desperation of, well, here's the best lie of all. That guy can save me. And he was willing to throw all of them under the bus. That, to me, is the sad part. And then people bought into it. Not everybody. Not everybody. You know, we hear there's 75 million Americans who don't take their voices away. Here's the reality of that. Not all 75 million Americans are picking up guns and attacking the Capitol. That ain't going to happen. It isn't. We need to separate the criminals from the people who supported and or voted because they felt out of the bad options that were available, this was their best bad option. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Car Shield gives you 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free should your car go into a shop. Here's the great thing about Car Shield. All those things are amazing. But then it's the shop that you choose. There's other companies out there that they offer covered repair, but you're going to go to their place that they choose. And their place is going to basically, you know, duct tape something together, get your car just to roll out, and you're screwed. You choose where you want to take your vehicle. Take it to the dealership. Take it to your favorite mechanic that your family's used for years. Take it to the place that you know is reputable, that feels comfortable from you. They get them paid directly. You pay a small deductible. So whether it's the electronics in your car or your transmission, whether your car's a little bit newer, a little bit older, they've got plans to start as low as $99 a month to help you with those cover repairs. Drive with confidence. Do what I do, knowing that if anything's happening, you're protected. Call Car Shield now, 800-665-2157. Mention code Benson or visit carshield.com, and use code Benson. Either way, you save 10% whether you call them or go online. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
If you like talk radio like Chad Benson likes his meals, you've come to the perfect place for takeout.
Knowing him for as long as I have, I would find it hard to believe that he would ever do something like that. I think he's just going to do what he always does, which is kind of attempt to ride it out.
Chris Christie talking about Trump. Will he resign? Won't he resign? The only way I don't know. I mean, the pushback would be huge. If this was always been my thought about this, you know. So he's the first president ever to be impeached for a second time, right? So if this had all happened and this was the beginning of December, removal, I think, would almost be 100%. I don't even think we'd be talking about it. And I think resigning may even been on the table. We're 7 days away, 6.5 days away at this point, right? But we're 7 days away, a week away of it being over and done. So I don't even think if McCarthy, who is taking the temperature, you know, of should he make the Barry Goldwater Saturday, you know, the walkover and say, hey, bro, you got to go. I don't think so. I think he'll be there. And then the question becomes, well, he's not going to be in office. And part of the reasons you would go and you would do something like impeach him would be to remove him from office. Could they? Would they?
To be honest, if the Senate wants to try him after January 20th, I think it fully has the constitutional power to do that.
Yeah. And essentially what it would be doing is ending any opportunity for him to run again. That's where this would go. Let's end any opportunity for him to run again. So we'll see. But it's the Senate. You guys are going to be up. And Biden and everybody else. It'll be on your watch that this takes place. And how you play it will say a lot about the reality of uniting the country and how much you want to make politics part of it. And if it's singularly about what took place last Wednesday and say the run-up from the election until last Wednesday, that's one thing. If you start to rehash things like Russia, you start to rehash things like the Ukraine, you start to if it becomes that, then that isn't going to help. But if you stay on course and you stay in a lane, that will help in making it not feel like it's uber political. Because remember, politics is nothing but political. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Somebody's hosting Jeopardy who shouldn't have said he was going to host Jeopardy, but apparently he let it slip. Mega Millions. What would you do with the money? We'll talk about that as well. So much more. So Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We were attacked by terrorists, but this time the terrorists were radicalized right here in the United States. Worse, they were radicalized by the president, who intentionally lied to his supporters that the election was stolen and then told them when to come to D.C., where to protest, and who to direct their anger at.
Yeah. Look, the people that broke in, the people that and first of all, let me break down let's differentiate everybody who was involved. You had the rally, and you had all the knuckleheads that were up there with Trump. Okay. And you had 30,000 people, let's say. 2,500 to 3,000 people came there to stop the steal and had an agenda. Were they super organized? No, they're probably loosely organized, but they got together. And the other 27,000 went home. Went back to their hotels, went off, did their thing, bounced, whatever. Then you had about 2,500, 3,000 that wandered down there. And out of those, I don't know how many knuckleheads were involved. I don't know what the count is. So let's not lump all Trump supporters or white supremacists, misogynistics, homophobic, and we could just go on and on. Let's not lump everybody into one. But yeah, they were Trump supporters. They were not Antifa. They're not plants from the Black Lives Matter rallies. They weren't. They were Trump supporters. And because of that, he's impeached for a second time because of the way that he not acted, not only on the day, but the entire run-up from election night till that day. And the continuous lies he told, the way that he continually lied not only to the people, his supporters, but he lied over and over again to the likes of, well, many inside of his party who, even when they say, no, sir, you're wrong, he wouldn't stop. He wouldn't. Now, starting the other day and then continuing to build up steam, and then is, the essential end of it all. So historic in impeachment twice. Now what happens from here? Well, that is something that will be talked about and debated for the next several days. The Senate doesn't get back till the 19th, and, from there on, it's going to be, that's their gig. And it's sad. It's sad we're in this point. It's sad that we're at this point. And I saw people yesterday talking about the likes of AOC.
I had a pretty traumatizing event happen to me. I did not know if I was going to make it to the end of that day alive.
Oh, she's dramatic. Normally she is very dramatic. She is. But as I was telling Kimmy and producer Phil, there is no doubt in my mind that while some people went in there thinking that they were just protesting and they're live streaming it and stuff, and they're going to be, charged with trespassing. They didn't break anything, steal anything. They may have bought into it. They got caught up in the moment. There were others in there who, if they got their hands on several of these people, including people on the right side of the aisle who they thought were betraying the president, or the likes of Nancy Pelosi or AOC, that bad stuff would have happened. No doubt in my mind. No doubt. 100%. There was guillotines and nooses. Now, no doubt in my mind, if they had the opportunity to get their hands on an AOC, if they had the opportunity to get their hands on a Nancy Pelosi, or anybody that they thought didn't back Trump, absolutely they would have. And that is appalling. It is. 1 week away from Biden taking over, becoming the president. While all this is going on, they are locked and loaded in the Capitol and capitals around the country because they're terrified as far as the politicians of what the potential may come, because they're hearing, starting on the 16th through the 20th, potentially, that not only will Trump supporters and protesters descend on capitals, but the reality is the inauguration. I mean, for some of these people, they're looking to make a show. That's what they're looking for, to make their statement.
Very little traffic in this area. We're seeing U.S. Capitol Police, Secret Service, a lot of security, unprecedented security in this area. Also, not that much foot traffic. Typically, at this hour of the day, we would see staffers roaming around the Capitol, getting from point A to point B. Right now, we're not seeing that.
Yeah, not a lot of it. And then you throw in the fact that Airbnb made an announcement today about what they're going to be doing for next week. Normally, D.C. right now. So let's just go into a normal situation. Right, we haven't had any of this chaos. It was a smooth election. It's either the re-election or the election of a new president, whatever it is. You're getting top dollar for your house. Hotels are booked months in advance, and you're staying an hour, 2, 3 hours away to get to D.C. Not anymore.
Airbnb and Hotel Tonight announcing they are canceling all reservations in the D.C. metro area next week during the inauguration. It will refund all bookings and pay hosts the money they would have made. Airbnb saying it comes after input from local, state, and federal officials who are asking people not to travel to Washington next week. Airbnb says it has also identified users who took part in Capitol activities last week or are known to be part of hate groups and have banned them from booking on Airbnb.
Yeah. So that's happening. Could you imagine if you rented your house to people who then did something just heinous? Because we live in a world of lawsuits, so you know right away they're going to be looking at Airbnb like, you should have known. I was like, what? Oh, God. I think we're just all ready for the drama to be over. The drama needs to go away. Absolutely. We need something else. What is that something else? Mega Millions.
A mega jackpot for Mega Millions. There was no winner in Tuesday night's whopping $625 million prize, so the pot grows to $750 million. It's now the second largest jackpot in Mega Millions history, with the cash prize lump sum amount topping more than $500,000. Still, you have virtually no chance of winning. The odds are 1 in more than 300 million. But as the saying goes, you got to play to win. The next Mega Millions drawing is Friday night.
So, Mega Millions. Right now, the payout stands. So if you take the lump sum, so there's two ways you approach this, right? So you get the annuity, and every year it gets more and more. You have a 5% raise every year. So you immediately get X amount of dollars. For some people, and the way that if you don't know anything about money, which is a lot of people out there, you're going to, what happens? The money comes in and they got more problems. And the next thing you know, it's the reason why most people who end up winning a big jackpot go broke, because they have no idea. So maybe the smart thing, if you talk to a money person, is like, look, do this. Do this right now is the smart thing for you to do. Take the annuity. And you would think if you got $458 million, that you wouldn't blow yourself up and couldn't spend it all, but people are stupid. And for some people, they'll take that $458 million, and then that may even be higher by the time it goes. And then the question is what's the first thing you do? So you're sitting there, you realize you've got it, and maybe you got a wife, a husband, whatever it is. Maybe it's your coworkers. It's the first thing. It's the first person you call. Got to call somebody, right? Is it your mom? Is it your dad? Is it your wife? Is it your girlfriend? Is it both? Is it your husband? Or do you call a divorce attorney and say, I don't really like him, but I don't want him to get his hands on these things? And then you start thinking about, what's the first thing I buy? What's the first thing I buy? And Kimmy earlier said that she's going to buy, she can pay off her student loans and do the things that most people, and you're going to buy a big house and you're going to set up a giant, huge, rescue for animals, which is awesome. And I've had people who are texting me go, I know exactly what you would do, Chad. I'm like, you do not. But they do. I would do a private zoo eventually. I'd probably end up giving a lot of it away. Right? You make sure your family's taken care of. You do the things like that, if you like your family. I would probably, up the ante when it comes to certain things with some of the animals that I have. And somebody says, could you even get a Komodo dragon? I think there are 4 or 5 people in America that are private citizens, if you will, that have private zoos that are not zoos as we would think. And so getting a Komodo dragon's not hard. It's not hard. Zoos will give them to you all the time if you're another zoo, because they're expensive to keep. They don't even let them breed anymore, because at first when they started breeding, we don't know if it'll work, and then they bred rabbits. So getting them's not hard, because everybody's like, would you get a dragon? But I would just, I'd probably give a lot of it away. I'd keep a lot. I'd invest a lot. I'd make it so very comfortable, and I'd still keep working because I love what I do. I love what I do, and it's fun. And then you got to start thinking, okay, who's your buddy or pal that you always wish, I wish so-and-so could hang out with me all the time. Well, so-and-so couldn't because you won the lottery, not him or her. Well, I'm going to pay you now to hang out. Kenny. My buddy. I'm like, dude, you need to quit your job. What's your job now? Your job's to hang out. Here's $1 million. Let's go do stuff, bro. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. A lot of golf would be involved. Absolutely. Ton of golf. Netflix makes a bold statement rather than a huge announcement, I would say. And somebody let something slip about being the host of Jeopardy that he wasn't supposed to. And I find this to be very odd as far as a celebrity host. A little bit more on impeachment as well. Impeachment part deux. Chad Benson Show.
You stink like fear and white male privilege to me.
I do often out myself verbally as a gender. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm proud to be agender.
Are you stupid? What? Are you kidding me?
Not a great way to use your white privilege.
Some people get it, some people don't.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
For the first time ever, Netflix promising a new movie each week this year with the biggest names in the biz.
I'm getting to the good part.
Dwayne Johnson, Gal Gadot, and Ryan Reynolds star in Red Notice, Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence in Don't Look Up. The move comes as over half of the country's movie theaters remain closed and viewing habits are shifting to the home. This is the Consumer Technology Association put out a report Tuesday saying U.S. spending on streaming subscriptions could hit $41 billion this year, a massive number for something that didn't exist 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's a statement. The statement is we are not only going to be in a situation where we're part of people's spending habits and their entertainment, but we are going to be the forefront of that. And even when we reopen up in full again, it's expensive to go to the movies. And if I can see something that is as good, if not better, in my house, and I think people are enjoying the fact, too, that they'll spend a little extra money and get it at their home. So it's going to be interesting. That's a statement right there. That is absolutely a statement. Said earlier, somebody's going to be hosting Jeopardy. So Ken Jennings, the passing of Alex Trebek this week was the start of the new hosts that are out there, that are celebrity guest hosts. And, some people are thinking, some of these really might be auditioning. Aaron Rodgers of the Packers announced yesterday on a podcast from that he's going to be hosting it. And then they didn't agree. And then he had to come out and apologize because they were going to announce it, but he's going to host. And I thought, of all the people to host Jeopardy, if you know anything about Aaron Rodgers, he's kind of surly, very standoffish, very private, just, doesn't feel like that's the guy that you would think to host a celebrity. But sometimes, I bet he loves it, and he's been on the show, so it's crazy. Trump, first president ever, historic, impeached twice. You saw it coming when Pence, wasn't going to invoke the 25th. They tried to push him into that. And so away it went. And, everybody saw this coming for days once they couldn't, get it sorted out the way that I think they wanted to, which hopefully that he would resign. Now, the question going forward is how do the Democrats handle it and how do the Republicans handle it? Republicans handle it in a way where you still need some of his base probably going forward in elections. How big is that base? The true supporters. And, do you put yourself in a position where you really want to make sure that he has no chance of running in 2024? And you make that known if you're a Republican by the way you handle it. And on the other side, the Democrats, this is a time to show us. You talk about uniting. Everybody always talks about uniting. Everybody always talks about these things. Remember, both of these sides don't really want us super united because being divided is big business. And a lot will come out of the way that they handle this. Chuck and everybody else there and Kamala and the way this goes. And also, and this is something to think about too, is this quick or is it long lasting as far as the trial that hangs over the beginning of Biden's presidency. Lots of crazy stuff. You guys have a blessed, wonderful day. We got you over the hump. We always do that. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.